All right, Unit 4, Lecture 3C, the reform movements that come out of the Jacksonian era. All right, a period of great reform. We're going to see reforms in education, prison mental health, temperance movement, abolition, women's rights movement, okay, and a great period of transcendentalist thinking also in writing, okay. Transcendentalists are authors. It's an intellectual movement. Their agenda includes much of this reform movement: freedom to the slave, well-being of the poor and miserable, the learning, education, peace and justice to society. And these are going to include authors like, hold on here, I'll get you, this guy here, Ralph Waldo Emerson, and Henry David Thoreau, this guy here, who's one of my favorites on civil disobedience. Resistance, civil government, and eventually becomes civil disobedience. Thoreau will go to jail rather than pay taxes to support the Mexican War, which he doesn't believe in. So these were all big parts of the Jacksonian era, okay, and their reform movement. I want to throw up the whiteboard quick for you to get the list of vocab. All right, reform vocab is the Second Great Awakening, Transcendentalism, civil disobedience, Temperance, Horace Mann, Elizabeth Cady Stanton, Susan B. Anthony, Dorothea Dix. I like to throw in Lucretia Mott in there every now and then also. Abolition, William Lloyd Garrison, Liberator. Removal Act and Trail of Tears. All right. So this reform movement, this reform era, is going to be sparked by the Second Great Awakening, a spiritual and religious revival, all right, a period, another one. We have a habit of looking back in our history and say, hey, those guys behind us were much more religious, much better, so we try to live up to that, okay? It's not necessarily always the truth. Anyhow, so the Second Great Awakening, remember, it sparks this reform movement. The Temperance Movement, it's going to be led by women and Protestant ministers. They're going to think that alcohol leads to broken homes, leads to violent crimes, broken marriages, things like that. All right, it will lead to blue laws and prohibition in some states. It'll be the forerunner of the prohibition movement, which we'll see in the early 20th century. All right, so temperance is an effort to get rid of or ban the manufacture and sale of alcohol. Educational reform will be led by Horace Mann, the father of American education. He thought an educated citizenry is important to our defense. It's part of our republic. It's necessary for our republic. So he pushes for mandatory attendance laws. You have to go to school or your parents get in trouble. Government-funded schools, teacher training programs, and he opposes corporal punishment. It's because of Mann that teachers can't hit students, all right? And, of course, Massachusetts will be at the forerunner of this. They have been from the get-go, all right? First, they'll be the first state to establish tax support for local public schools, okay? By 1860, every state offers a free public education to white people, all right? And we have one of the highest literacy rates in the world by that point. Okay, this reform movement's going to work to give equal rights to women. Okay, at the forefront of this, we'll see Susan B. Anthony and Lucretia Mott and Elizabeth Cady Stanton. They'll begin at Seneca Falls in New York, 1848, with a gathering that they'll come out with the Women's Declaration of Rights. Okay. Declaration of Women's Rights. Among these rights are going to be the right to vote, women's suffrage movement. We've got to remember, early 19th century women were unable to vote. They had the legal status of a minor, somebody under 18. Could not really own her own property. If she was married, she had no control over her property or her children. She could not initiate a divorce or make wills, all right, without her husband's permission, okay? So remember, Susan B. Anthony, Elizabeth Cady Stanton. One of the next ones we go into is Dorothea Dix. She'll be working for reform for the mentally ill and the criminally and the prisoners. Try and work towards rehabilitation instead of punishment. All right. I'm going to stop right there, and we'll pick up with a real short one on abolition. I'll go back over this a little bit and what happens to Native Americans under Jackson.